Hey buds! I love books and I love foraging and I love books about foraging. So today I thought we would look at a few key recommendations from my library. And the first up is The Boreal Herbal by Beverly Gray. So this is a great, well-rounded reference book. It's recommended by lots of local experts, and I love how every time I crack it open, I still learn something new. Inside, you'll find lots of beautiful color photographs, and each plant, there's 55 common ones that she covers. And there are things like botanical descriptions and names, medicinal uses, nutritional uses, all that kind of stuff, which is wonderful. And in the back, there's medicinal preparations and recipes, botanical terms, and charts. So it's a great book to have in your library, and it actually comes in a digital format too, which I will admit I also own. It is beautiful on the screen, great to have on your iPad. My one disappointment with that is that you can't actually click around and link between sections as nicely as I would like, but it's still wonderful to have. Or there is a field guide that only covers 26 of the plants that you can pick up if you want something lightweight that you can carry around with you. And you know that I've tried recipes in all of these books. So two that I would highlight from the Boreal Herbal would be the cranberry mint muffins, which are absolutely delicious, and those cranberries just pop, as well as the dandelion petal pancakes, because sunshine petals and cornmeal will just brighten anyone's day. So our second book is The Path to Wild Food, Edible Plants and Recipes for Canada. So Charles actually gets credit for stumbling onto this one in the bookstore, and it has been a reliable resource ever since. And it is even written by a Saskatchewan author named Sandra Walker, and we were lucky enough to go on a plant walk with her at Wanuskewin last summer. So she even signed my book. Cool, right? I think she does a lot of events there, so if you get a chance, definitely check one out. And each section is not terribly long, but it has beautiful color photos again, and lots of interesting pieces of information through her ethnobotanist lens, as well as tasty recipes. And I just love the size of it. It will travel anywhere, and does, with me all the time. She chose to highlight in the back of the book a number of plants that are actually poisonous, so it's good knowledge to have and interesting read, and points out that a lot of our common ornamentals are actually kind of on the dangerous side. So one of the reasons that we love this book so much is that the recipes very seldom fail us. But to highlight a few, I'd say the mint sorbet is super refreshing and delicious, and maybe we already made a video on it, so you should check that out. And the curried fireweed shoots were delicious. Even picky eaters enjoyed those. And I think the last one I will say is the bunchberry sauce, which is normally relegated to survival food, but I think this recipe proves that it doesn't have to be. So number 3 is Laura Reeves' Guide to Useful Plants. And this book isn't as mainstream as the other ones. I wandered into it in an independent bookstore, but I'm really glad that I did. I've found it to be a really interesting book. And one of my favorite things about this actually is that it's spiral bound. I just love, and the texture of the pages. It just feels great in your hands. It fits in any handbag. It's easy to have with you. Even the content sections, it's really useful content that's just easy to pick up. So it actually covers 65 common wild plants and mushrooms, which is a little different. A lot of these wild plant books don't always get into the mushrooms, but she has a section on those. They are organized alphabetically, and they have nice color photos, which you may see a trend. I like the color photos. To me, they are useful and helpful. And recipe-wise, well, Laura is a botanist, and so her plant information is very on point, but she does actually preface her recipes section by saying she doesn't really do recipes or measurements, and maybe that's why I haven't had quite as much luck with her stuff. However, I would say that her dandelion chai recipe is amazing. The very first time that I roasted dandelion roots, I served it to some non-foraging people, and we were all super impressed. So that one is still a very often used recipe in our household. And when I was revisiting it, she talks about pidpenki, which is something I hadn't really paid much attention to before because I wasn't mushroom hunting. But last summer I got to go on my first mushroom hunt and we gathered honey mushrooms, which is another name for pidpenki. So I'm pretty excited to maybe try a few more things out. And then we have The Boreal Feast, A Culinary Journey Through the North by Michelle Genet. So this is actually her second cookbook. And although I would say the first one was good too, she really upped her game on this. And it is organized by season and full of all sorts of delicious things, as well as write-ups on her culinary experiences generally in the Yukon area. So, of course, being full of delectable recipes, it has some really great ones. One of our very favorites is the spruce tip creme brulee, which you will find adapted in our Eat Your Christmas Tree video. I will link that somewhere. Another great one is the salted low bush cranberry toffee. Now, normally I find that candy is too fiddly to bother with. It's not something I make a lot of, but that was pretty stellar, gotta say. And the smoked Labrador tea shortbreads. I find that most people dabbling in the foraged foods kind of like to throw everything into shortbreads, and I mean, shortbread's delicious, it's always delicious. But because I had lots of Labrador tea kind of available when I started foraging far in the north, it was a great way to try that out and expand my skills. So it made an impact on me. And then I would also probably recommend the spruce tip focaccia bread because I just like more ways to eat trees, apparently. So number 5 is not a book, it's a magazine, but I get to do that because this is my list, so there. It is called Taproot, and they define themselves in every issue as the large primary root of plants such as a dandelion, which grows vertically downwards and bears smaller lateral roots. So how can you argue with that? Totally foraging related. They use dandelion. Love dandelions. It's a bi-monthly magazine celebrating food, farm, family, and craft. So covers a lot of my interests, and although it's not 100% about foraging, it often covers wild plants or edible flowers and lots of things that are kind of in line with those interests. So it really has beautiful photos and illustrations. It's truly a visual treat. You can see lots of those and lots of artwork. So it's great to see all the different artists, and every year they actually choose a different artist. So you'll see that there'll be a series of covers that will all match because they're done by the same artist, and they feature that artist at the beginning of every year. So it is actually independently published in Portland, Maine, and is 100% ad-free. So tell me, when's the last time you've actually read a magazine that is ad-free? There are no ads assaulting your senses. It is just a lovely treat to read. 100% recommend this one. So, fun fact, in issue 24 of Taproot, they actually featured my Instagram photo. I made their sourdough Dutch baby pancake with wild blueberries and mint, of course. And it made it into an issue, so I thought that was pretty cool. So these have all been a huge part of my foraging journey, which truly has changed my life, and I would 100% recommend them. However, I will say that you will probably be happiest with books and materials that are kind of tailored to your particular bioregion. So these books are somewhat focused more on the boreal forest, which is a region of 270 million hectares that range from Alaska across Canada. But that being said, there is a lot of weedy overlap throughout the globe. So, for example, the dandelion, most people know it, and it's pretty much everywhere. Anyways, if these are things that you would like to add to your library, I will have the links down below. If you want to help the channel, you can use the affiliate links. That will be there. But I always recommend that you support your local bookstore if you can. This is a well-rounded. It's well-rounded.